Welcome to Lesson 6 in Unit 16, Pinball Wizards. In this lesson, students will work to answer the question, how can magnetic forces affect other magnets in our pinball game? In this lesson, students continue to investigate magnets. They ask questions and they plan and conduct a fair investigation to identify how magnetic force can be applied to attract or repel other magnets. Students figure out that the orientation of the magnet affects whether two magnets attract or repel each other. Students make connections to the storyline by applying what they've learned about magnetic force to add another trick to their pinball games. There are several opportunities for ELA cross-curricular connections throughout the lesson. You can look for specific standard connections in the Unit 16 Teacher Guide. This lesson will take approximately 3 to 4 days to complete. For the Engage portion of the lesson, you'll begin by asking students what they've already learned about magnets and magnetic forces. Before class, you'll orient the magnets to make them float, and then hold up one of the floating magnet toys. You'll ask the class what they notice. You'll show students the magnet ring and pole toy, and then put the students into 6 groups and give each group a magnetic floating ring toy. You'll ask students to get the rings to float and figure out why. For the Explore portion, you'll show students the bar magnets and tell them that they'll be using them in an investigation. You'll ask what they notice about the magnets and why they think they'll be using bar magnets instead of the round magnets. You'll put students into groups of 3 or 4 and provide each group with 2 bar magnets. In their groups, you'll have them discuss to answer the provided questions about creating a fair test. You'll have students use the Bar Magnet Investigation student journal page to conduct their investigations and record their observations. They will experiment with the magnets to see what makes them attract and repel. For the Explain portion, you'll bring the class together and lead a discussion about students' observations from their bar magnet investigations. They can use the Bar Magnet Investigation student journal page to share their data. Use the provided questions to guide your discussion around the question, how do magnetic forces affect other magnets? The goal of this class discussion is to analyze student data and use cause and effect to describe how the magnets are interacting. Use the discussion to create the Lesson 6 summary chart. By the end of the discussion, students should understand that the way they position magnets will affect their games. They could use 2 magnets on the same side to push off of one another. During the discussion, you can display and discuss the Polar vocabulary card. You'll then reintroduce the book, What Makes a Magnet? Use the Read Aloud guide to read Part 2. You'll record the student responses to the provided questions in the second row of the Lesson 6 summary chart. You can post and discuss the Repel vocabulary card. For the Elaborate portion of the lesson, you'll invite students to think about how magnets are used in their everyday lives. You'll put students in groups of 2 to pair share about how magnets might be used by engineers to solve problems. In their groups, you'll have them discuss to answer questions about magnets in their lives and how they can be used to solve problems. For the Evaluate portion, you'll display images on 3 curriculum slides. In their pairs, you'll have students look at each slide and make observations to define a problem the magnets are solving in this quick check. You'll call on 1 to 2 students to share their ideas with each slide. To support student sense-making across the unit, orient them back to the driving question board. Ask, did we answer any of the questions on our driving question board? If there are questions that have been answered, you can remove them from the driving question board and place them on the summary charts. Use this as an opportunity to build a class consensus model to answer the section driving question, how can we add tricks to our pinball machines? You'll then ask students, what new questions do you have to add to our driving question board? And what questions are you interested in answering next? By the end of this lesson, students will have asked questions about magnets pushing and pulling other magnets, and conducted an investigation to collect data about how magnets apply forces to other magnets. In Lesson 7, students engage in the engineering design cycle to develop and test their pinball games using criteria and constraints and fair tests. For the optional Extend portion, you can continue the investigation into magnets from the Explain by giving students different types of magnets to compare. For more information about this unit, visit myscipartners.com.